From a cursed, tattooed mummy to the lost continent of Atlantis, here are 10 controversial discoveries that challenged history. This is Throwback Thursdays. Hey, Julie Ortega, thanks for checking out our channel and subscribing. We're glad you're enjoying the content, and we do appreciate all that great support. Cheers! Number 10. Dendera light bulb. Evidence of an ancient electrical lighting technology was found in the Dendera temple complex in Egypt. 3 stone reliefs are said to depict images that are similar to some electrical systems that are used in modern times. Egyptologists say the reliefs represent aspects of Egyptian mythology. Experts on the fringe, however, hypothesize that the reliefs illustrate that ancient Egyptians once created electrical technology that resembles devices that are in use today. Cyrus cylinder. This ancient clay artifact dates to around the 6th century BC and was discovered during excavations of Babylonian ruins in 1879 in Mesopotamia, which is now present-day Iraq. The text on the cylinder is written in cuneiform and is focused on the achievements of Cyrus the Great, who lived from around 600 to 530 BC and created the largest empire known in its time. Traditionally, the cylinder has been viewed as evidence that corroborates Cyrus's policy of repatriation of Jewish people who were captives of Babylon. But that interpretation is disputed, since the text only mentions Mesopotamian sanctuaries and makes no reference to Jerusalem, Judea, or to the Jewish people. And while the cylinder has also been interpreted as the oldest known charter of universal human rights, that view is disputed as well. Opponents say that interpretation is a misunderstanding due to the cylinder's generic nature. All the same, did you know that the Cyrus cylinder has remained on display at the British Museum since 1880? Skull number 5. That name refers to a well-preserved skull that is nearly 2 million years old and was found in Manasih, Georgia in Eurasia. Discovered in fragments between 2002 and 2005, experts once thought it belonged to an entirely unique species. It's now been classified within Homo erectus, or upright man, but many experts dispute that claim. That extinct hominin species is thought to have lived up until around 143,000 years ago. Most researchers think they originated in Africa, then migrated from that continent throughout Eurasia and as far as China and Indonesia. In all, the remains of 5 hominids were found at the location in Georgia, and their physical characteristics convinced some anthropologists that all of them were examples of Homo erectus from Africa. They even say that the discovery suggests that other Homo species from the same time period could simply be variations on Homo erectus, and if that's the case, then it would completely reshape the way in which early human relatives should be classified. Ötzi. In 1991, 2 German tourists found the mummy of a man thought to have lived around 3300 BC. At a height of some 3,200 meters, or more than 10,000 feet, in the Ötztal Alps, bordering Austria and Italy, the remains were exceptionally well preserved. After extensive analysis, Ötzi was found to have some characteristics that some found unusual. The 5'5" man had more than 60 tattoos all over his body. The designs may have been related to treatments to relieve pain similar to acupuncture. If that's the case, then it would predate the first known use of such treatment in China by about 2,000 years. His clothing was found to be sophisticated, with evidence he wore a primitive type of backpack and snowshoes, and his blood cells were still intact, making them the oldest blood cells yet identified. But maybe Ötzi's most controversial aspect is the curse that's associated with him. Several people associated with the specimen's recovery and analysis have allegedly died under mysterious circumstances. To date, 7 people are said to have died from the alleged curse, more than half of whom met the fate in a violent fashion. The James ossuary. This is a chalk box that was used for storing the bones of the dead and is some 2,000 years old. An Aramaic inscription carved on the side of the box reads, "James, son of Joseph, brother of Jesus." Some scholars believe that this could provide archaeological evidence of Jesus of Nazareth, if it is genuine. From between 20 BC and 70 AD, Jewish burial custom required that the body of the deceased be placed in a cave for around a year before being retrieved by the family and placed in a bone box or ossuary. Of the hundreds of such boxes found from that era, only 2 boxes bear inscriptions that mention a brother. While tests conducted by Israeli scientists indicated the ossuary was around 2,000 years old, skeptics claimed the inscription was actually forged at a much later date. The box's owner, an Israeli engineer and antiquities collector, claimed to have bought the artifact in the 1970s from a dealer based in Jerusalem. He was later charged on counts that included forgery of the controversial inscription, but was later acquitted of that charge. During that procedure, the judge said the acquittal did not confirm the inscription was either authentic or was written 2,000 years ago. Acambaro figurines. More than 32,000 of these odd little ceramic artifacts were found in 1944 in Acambaro, Mexico. While some people think the figures resemble dinosaurs, other figures are said to resemble peoples from all over the world, including Sumerians, Egyptians, and bearded Europeans. Attempts to date the figures have indicated they were created around 2500 BC, but later analysis indicated the artifacts could have been created around 1940. That's AD. So far, experts say there is no reliable evidence yet known for defining the works as true ancient artifacts, but the figurines still invite a lot of controversy today, and many people are convinced of their authenticity. Las Lunas Decalogue stone. This immense boulder is located in Las Lunas, New Mexico, and is said to bear an inscription that some have interpreted as an abridged version of the Decalogue, or the 10 Commandments, inscribed in a form of Paleo-Hebrew. It was discovered in 1933 by an archaeologist who claimed he was led to the object by an unnamed guide who first found it in the 1880s. Scholars have noted that the stone's authenticity is disputable, and that's due to the inscription's use of modern Hebrew punctuation and numerous grammatical errors. Proponents say the language is consistent with antiquity and claim the artifact is pre-Columbian and is proof of early Semitic contact with the Americas. Because the stone weighs some 80 tons, it's been transported to a lab for analysis and safekeeping, so the controversy will likely continue. The Kensington Runestone. This slab of rock was discovered by a Swedish immigrant in Minnesota in 1898. Because he located it near the town of Kensington, that became the object's namesake. Weighing more than 200 pounds, the stone was covered with runes on its front and sides. The inscriptions claim the artifact dates to the 14th century and is said to contain a record of Scandinavian explorers. Now, we found about as many believers of the stone being authentic as we did doubters. Many scholars feel the runestone was created by the man who allegedly discovered it, but the local community is convinced it is genuine, and it's on display at the Runestone Museum in Alexandria, Minnesota. The Metepec creature. Finding proof of extraterrestrial life on Earth would be a controversial archaeological discovery indeed, but for a time, a journalist was convinced he had found just that. In 2007, ranchers in Metepec, Mexico, found a bizarre animal that had a smallish body with whitish-gray skin and a head that was disproportionately large for its size. Because it bore a resemblance to those gray aliens, some people conjectured that the creature might have an extraterrestrial connection. The ranchers eventually sold the specimen to a UFO journalist who was positive that he had obtained a bona fide ET. You can see the specimen in the picture, and it does appear to have a quasi-humanoid appearance. But maybe it could have been some sort of a model or an animal skeleton that had somehow been altered. After several DNA tests came back inconclusive, experts at a forensic lab in the UK conducted an in-depth analysis that revealed that it was, in fact, an expired, tufted marmoset monkey obtained from the zoo at which the rancher worked. Now, even though this claim has been debunked, there are many people who still wonder if the critter was not really an alien after all. And before heading to the top spot, let's take a time out for an honorable mention. According to various accounts, the mysterious lost continent of Atlantis has been discovered in several places, including the Bahamas, Japan, and Cuba. Atlantis was first mentioned by Plato in 360 BC, and he described it as a great naval power that sank into the sea some 10,000 years earlier after a catastrophic event. More recently, some evidence has shown up in the Strait of Gibraltar in Spain. Large stone anchors found there date back some 4,000 years and indicated that ships may have docked there during the Bronze Age. That has led some experts to theorize Atlantis could have been located somewhere around southern Spain, but the actual historical existence of Atlantis is still being debated and still provides a source of great controversy. The Pyramids of Brazil. When you think of ancient pyramids, you'd probably think of Egypt before you would Brazil. But there are reports indicating that the oldest pyramids in the world just might be found on Brazil's Atlantic coast. Said to date back to around 3000 BC, that would predate the Egyptian pyramids by a few hundred years. These Brazilian structures are unique in that they are not constructed from stone. They were actually made from seashells, which made the pyramids look like huge mounds of rubbish, which led to their being undiscovered for ages. According to our sources, the largest of the structures covers around 25 acres of land and rises about 100 feet high. Archaeologists say Brazil might have had as many as 1,000 pyramids at one point, some of which may have dated back as far as some 5,000 years.
This is Throwback Thursdays.